Greetings, book lovers everywhere. I'm E-Train and welcome to E-Train Talks. And today I'm interviewing the author of two of my all-time favorite thrilling middle grade adventure series, the captivating City Spies and the Frame series. Who am I talking about? Well, you already know it. I'm talking about the one and only storytelling legend and my personal hero, the award-winning author, James Ponti. And for those who don't know, James Ponti is both a New York Times and International best-selling author of not one, but three middle grade book series. Wow. And you might also be surprised to hear that James is also an Emmy-nominated television writer and producer who's worked for television networks such as Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and PBS, to name a few. He's also the recipient of the prestigious EDGAR Allan Poe Award. Not too shabby, right? Well, this is just the beginning. James is not just a writer, but also an advocate. From visiting schools to libraries to advocating for indie bookstores and bookshops, James motivates kids to read by talking to them and sharing stories. James Ponti is a book hero, and I'm so happy to have a chance to hear more about his writing journey. So without further delay, I'm thrilled to welcome author extraordinaire James Ponti to E-Train Talks. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, E-Train, that's way too generous in your compliments there. Why don't we just go with, here's James, who sometimes writes books and sometimes acts like he's writing a book, but really is doing crossword puzzles or, searching Twitter.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Well, I totally mean that intro, and I know that so many others are so inspired to just read your books and just inspired by everything you do, because I know that you may think of yourself as a crossword puzzle Twitter searcher, but you're also so much more. So
Well,
I'm just so honored to have you here.
No, it's my honor completely. I'm a fan of your reviews and honored to be part of. Is this a podcast? I don't know what they are when there's video.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't really know the word for it. It's like,
yeah, okay. Whatever this is, I'm honored to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, the first question that I have is, most people don't know this about me, but it was your Frame series that sparked my love of realistic fiction and mystery books. I I wasn't really a reluctant reader, but I only read nonfiction, which sounds a little bit weird because now I only review fiction.
Right.
But when I found out you had more novels in the same genre, and also there was travel added to it, it's just I was thrilled and devoured the entire City Spies series. I have all three books here, and in February I'll have the fourth, which I'm super excited to read. And I have all three Frames books as well. So I cannot wait for the fourth book in the City Spies series, City of the Dead, which takes place in Egypt, to come out. So without giving away any spoilers, can you share anything about your newest City Spies novel? And is there a book 5 in our future?
Well, I'm working on 5, so we know there's at least going to be 6 of them in the City Spies series. Book 4, no spoilers, but boy, are the biggest surprises ever in the series are in book 4. Yeah. And we go to Egypt a lot. We go to Cairo and then down into Valley of the Kings, which is where King Tut was discovered. There's also a short little trip to Berlin, and we open in London, which is always kind of fun to do. I love London, and I feel like it kind of bases them in the UK, which is good. So there's a lot going on. Each of the City Spies books jumps with who the kind of main focus is, the main character. And so in this one, it is going to be Kat, which is really fun. Kat's the quietest. And interestingly enough, as I go around and I meet kids, for a lot of people, Kat is their favorite. So she's been kind of a little mysterious, a little enigmatic. Hopefully we get a deeper insight into her in City Spies 4.
Yeah, I cannot wait. And I'm just super thrilled to hear that Kat is the main character. Well, they're all kind of main characters. She's like the main character.
Yeah, it's just a slight head to one. They rotate, but they all are important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. So Kat is my favorite character. So, I mean, she's mysterious, which kind of adds to the mystique. And also, she's just... I love puzzles, and I know that you do as well. You like crossword puzzles from...
I like all kinds of puzzles, yeah. Puzzles are fun.
So Kat is going to be a really interesting character to read about, and It's so cool that this is just kind of an added response, but like every single City Spies book, it takes place at different landmarks from all over the world. There's so much travel involved, from the Eiffel Tower in City Spies Book One to the Golden Gate Bridge in City Spies Golden Gate. And then in City Spies Forbidden City, I feel like I should know what this is called.
No, it's the Bird's Nest. It's the Olympic Stadium in Beijing.
Okay, I should.
That's where the ending of the book takes place, but there's also a lot of attention in that book to Red Square in Moscow and to the Forbidden City itself, which is also in Beijing. So yeah, I love landmarks. I love locations. I was a reluctant reader growing up, but for me, the book that was my favorite book, the book that I loved, was from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Baisley Frankweiler. And that took place in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. It's about a girl who ran away with her brother, and they camped out and hid out inside the museum for, I think it was like 8 days. I forget how long they were there. But I, as a kid, loved the fact that this make-believe story took place in a real place that I could go. And that was very much influential on, opening frames with the museum, writing this kind of stuff. And so I love writing the locations. And to be honest, the two first questions my editor and I have at the start of each book is, who's the lead? What's the location? And everything else fills in after that. So we've just been talking out, book 5, actually, which I'm not going to tell you where it takes place, but you start with that. And in a way, there's an artist named Yao Mao Lan S. I'm not pronouncing that right, probably. She does the covers and the illustrations of the characters that are in the back of the book. And I think her covers are so dynamic and so they help the book so much that I really, in the formation of the idea, part of what I'm asking myself is, what's Yao going to illustrate? What's it going to be? And that's, again, those are the first questions we ask. Not what's the plot, what's the mystery. It's who, where, and kind of what's the icon, what's the logo.
Well, that's a very interesting formula, and I can certainly see how the landmarks are kind of the first thing you ask about, because, well, the first thing you see when you see the City Spies books are the landmarks. And Mother, who organizes, directs, and kind of leads the City Spies, is famous for his Motherisms.
Right.
I really appreciate that you included them in the stories. And for those who don't really know what a Motherism is, what are they, and how do you come up with them?
It is a little nugget of wisdom that he creates, a rhyming couplet that he creates to help them to remember the tools of tradecraft or spycraft. So it's like, don't be late. This is not, I don't have a word for word in my head. Don't be late. Heroes don't wait, or, something, our bad guys don't wait. You can't look out and stand out. These are terrible versions I'm doing on my head. But I spent some time trying to come up with these rhymes for him, and it is a thing for them to latch onto. And actually, it was originally just like a throwaway joke for me. And then a lot of librarians really connected with them. They said, we write these Motherisms on the wall, and on the blackboard, whatever, in our classroom. And so I really try to come up with 5 or 6 per book and have them be, ideally a Motherism is something that is a good clue for spycraft, but is also maybe a good clue for just regular everyday life. So it's his little bits of wisdom in rhyme.
So
here we go. For E-Train, here's an E-Train Motherism.
Oh, okay.
Those cannot lead who first do not read. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to be smart to know what you're doing. You got to read. You got to be world. So that's you. You can have that one if you want.
All right. I'll keep it in my back pocket, and I'll plaster it on the wall from James Ponti.
No, you don't have to. You take credit. I don't mind. I won't tell.
Okay. All right. And in City Spies, Framed, and I haven't read Dead City yet, but I need to. So the main characters all go through spy training, and end up going on incredible, entertaining adventures. Your stories are so captivating, they're filled with exciting quests. And I'm curious to know, how did you become such a master of the world of espionage? Because you're the one writing the stories. It's not like Mother and them, they aren't, like, they're not talk. I'm okay, just how did you become such a master of espionage?
Well, I'm a master of nothing. But espionage, you look up. The great thing about writing is a thing that lets you find out more about things that you're interested in. So I'm interested in the world. I'm interested in travel. I'm interested in people. I'm interested in the concept of spying. And I always, yes, it's spying. So people think James Bond. For me, it's as much Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is maybe too old a movie for most of your followers to know. But I like adventure with humor and a journey and a quest all mixed together. That to me was always the most enjoyable type of movie or book to read. I like mysteries because when you read them, you try to solve them along the way. So when I'm writing a story, I try to write for me, like what would I have liked as a reader, as a 13-year-old, but also even now, what do I like? Where do I want to go? What do I want to find out about? And then I look in and I research and I talk to people. I talk to experts. I've actually talked to real spies about the work they've done for the CIA. I've talked to Egyptologists to prepare for this new book. I always am trying to find out little things. And then, it's the trick is not really a trick. It's creating characters and then writing about characters who you care about and who you kind of feel like a piece of you is in. So my social awkwardness growing up and still in life, I gave to Kat. And my sense of not wanting to let people down, I gave to Paris. And my, on and on with all the characters. And so if you care about them, then you put them in situations. And what I like to write about are people using their brain to solve problems and use people who, more than anything, believe in their friends and family working together. So that's just what I write about. And hopefully you have a good enough mystery, and then it strings it along for how many pages? Now lately, God, it's been 400 pages of a story, and it's really, really fun to do. But there's no trick to it. Now, the truth is, I was such a reluctant reader growing up that for college, I went and I studied filmmaking and screenwriting, which is why my career started in television. Because I didn't think I could write books since I was not good at reading books. So I thought maybe I could write movies or TV shows. And in movies, things move pretty fast, faster maybe than some books do. And so I think probably what's helped my writing is I think my stories move pretty fast because I still probably think of them like movies on the page to a degree, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, and I love that answer. And speaking of your television writing days, I read on your website that so one of the first stories that you wrote was like a Mickey Mouse birthday.
When I was in second grade, I wrote Mickey Mouse's birthday party, yes.
And then for the 65th anniversary episode of Mickey Mouse on the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show, you actually wrote Mickey Mouse Clubhouse birthday. So what's that?
It's amazing that came back around. Actually, it wasn't Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which is an animated show. I'm old. I'm an old person. So it's probably when your parents were kids and they were watching. It was a show called the Mickey Mouse Club, which had live acting people on it. And I had to write a special about Mickey Mouse's birthday for his 65th birthday. So that was pretty fun. And it came full circle. It's like, I know what to do because I wrote this when I was 7. So this is right up my alleyway.
Remember, everybody, it's not James Bond, it's James Ponti.
There we go. There we go.
That's the one.
There you go.
And my next question is, it's also we've talked about it a little bit, but One cool fact about City Spies is that each book cover features a photo of a landmark from around the globe, from the Golden Gate Bridge, as I said, to the Eiffel Tower, and just all that cool stuff. And eventually there's going to be in the I
The new one has
yeah,
the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. So that
yeah,
one's yeah.
that's the one. My brain is at blank right now. So I
Very
really
good.
like how the real world meets the fictional world in your books, and the protagonists in all your series travel throughout the US and all around the world on important missions, whether they're working for MI6 or the FBI. Florian is FBI and the MI6 City Spies, just for reference.
Great.
And are any of the events included in your books based on real life occurrences? And if not, how do you come up with such entertaining scenarios for your stories?
So the events that happen aren't real, although the mysteries and the spy stuff, I I study real mysteries and real spy missions to get nuggets and parts of it, but none of them are real. The thing that is important though to me is those are not the main parts of the story, which may sound odd because it's the interaction of the characters, the family dynamic in City Spies, the friendship dynamic in Framed, and all of the personal things that happen to them, all the emotions that they go through, and the crises of confidence and the things they're worried about. Those are all real. Those are all things from my life, my family's life, my kids, my friends. Um, I think we want that part to be real. I think, it's fun to see all these places and all these adventures play out, but it's important that what plays out over them is something that we can connect to and not something that's just far away and shiny and interesting. But then, sometimes you'll see that. Sometimes you'll see an action movie that's like really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, you won't remember much of it because it was just a lot of fast moving things. But when you have characters you care about, then that just becomes the way to put them in situations that externally show how they feel about each other and what matters the most in the world.
That is such a great answer, and your characters really have stuck with me. Not just because I just recently reread the City Spies books and the Green book, but also because they're just wonderful characters. I wish your books would be 500 pages. They're just
Well, no,
so
I can't.
well
I can
done.
barely handle how long they are now, so we're not going for any longer.
All
But
right.
I'm glad they connect with you, and that's what gets lost sometimes is it's a book is the creative endeavor of two people, the writer and the reader. And the book experience exists only when those things come together. So, it's in a way kind of like if the tree falls in the woods, would anyone hear it kind of deal. But it's like we meet now here. It's just nice. We get to meet on Zoom and we get to talk. And every now and then you and I have also talked through like Twitter or something like that. But normally we don't meet. Normally it's just this relationship that exists where it's like I sit here at this very computer on this very keyboard and I write these books.
Mhm.
And then they just get sent out into the world and they mean something for me, but it's my half of the conversation. Then you sit there somewhere and you read and it comes to life, hopefully in your brain and in your imagination. And that's what gives the book life, not me, but you. And so what's kind of great is your experience with these books is unique to you. And that version of this book exists only with you. And then there's a different version with the other. And so, it's a really neat thing. And it's great that you connect with it because you're what brings it to life. So I really appreciate that.
Well, that's really what separates your books from, well, all books from movies. Like, you have,
I love movies though. Don't knock movies too much.
yeah,
I love
I
movies.
love movies, but like you have the pictures playing in front of you, but Like the characters don't stick with you. The characters in City Spies framed all the books I read. Even if you haven't read the book in years, the characters are still in your hearts.
Well,
And
that's well because you're forced to create what they look like. You're forced to create what they sound like. You're forced to do all that, and because you've put that effort into it, it anchors a little bit deeper in your heart and in your mind, I think.
yeah. So my next question
Okay.
is, so you've obviously been writing to the perfect audience, and we love your books, middle grade and YA audience. So will you share what first compelled you to write for kids?
It's where I naturally fit. It was not what I expected, but my first job was writing for Disney Channel, and then right after that, I spent a couple of years writing at Nickelodeon, and I found an instant connection with the audience that I was writing for. I liked these stories. I liked what they were about. When I started to try to write books, I thought I would be writing for older. I thought I would be a young adult author. And I wrote 50 pages of what became Dead City. And I sent it in to an editor and an agent, and both of them said, "Hey, we really like this. It's got a lot of good things going on, but you are not a young adult author. You're a middle grade author." And they talked about kind of like what that meant and like the ages of some of the characters and some of the issues. And then when I rewrote it that way, it just connected with me. And I thought, this is what I'm meant to write. This is what I love to write. And I'm thrilled to do it. I feel honored that I get to write for readers, some of whom are just getting into books, some of whom are just expanding their love of books, and I get to be, for some of them, some of the first books, and that's a huge honor that I don't take it lightly. I really feel like I owe it to them. It if my wife reads a couple books a week, right? So she reads like by this point in her life, she's read thousands of books. So a book she reads is 1/1000th of what she's read. Well, I'm writing for someone, maybe they've only read 50 books, right? Or 30 books. And my book is a bigger fraction, a bigger proportion of the books they've read. So I feel like I owe it to them to make it as good as I can because I don't want to spoil that. I don't know if that makes sense. I've never thought of it that way before, but I do think that's kind of the way I look at it. And so it's an honor and a privilege to get to write for middle grade audiences.
Yeah, the middle grade audience is truly amazing. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a middle grader. I'm totally not biased or anything. But it's just your books really are some of the first books that kids read. Or maybe they are avid readers, but it's their first time like dipping into like maybe the shallow end of a genre that they've never really read before. For me, it was realistic fiction and mystery.
Yeah, no, you said that about Framed. It was very nice of you to say. And if I had done a worse job on Framed, maybe you would have decided this is not a genre for me,
Yeah.
right? And how terrible that would be, So now, and the flip side is you don't have jaded readers, which is great. You don't have people who said, "Oh, I read 800 mysteries and I know how they all turn out." And you get people when they're fresher and newer to something, and I think they're a little more eager to just really dive in and enjoy it, which is great.
Yeah, and another question that I want to add is I heard somewhere that all the framed books are written in a way so that even if you read the second book first or the third book first, the stories will still make sense. So how do you go about doing that?
That's the hardest part of writing a book series. I try to do that with the City Spies books too. You
Mhm.
have to, you have to, you have to understand that not everyone's going to read every book and not going to read it in order necessarily. So every book, this is my editor and I talk about this all the time. Each book needs to make sense to someone if they've not read it at all, read any of the others. So you have, like in every City Spies book, I have to find places to explain. I've got these kids, they work as spies, they're this age, this is how they happen to be, they're with MI6. But the problem is, most of the people that are reading it probably have read the other books. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to bore them. Think about it. It's like if you turn on a baseball game and you've watched baseball every day, and they say, "All right, the guy comes to bat, he gets 3 strikes," you would bore them and they'd turn it off. So finding that balance is tricky. And the problem that I feel, is you can read them out of order, but once you've read one of the books, it spoils a lot of the surprises of the earlier books.
That's
So,
true.
for instance, without spoiling anything, because people wouldn't have it, but if you read Vanished first, it would make sense. That's the Frame book. But in Vanished, it tells you the big surprise ending at the end of Frame. So Frame would still be good to read for the mystery, but part of that special sauce of it would be lost because, oh, wait, I know what's going to happen here. I remember now from the other. So I like people to read them in order, but, I understand we only have so many times, we only have so many books, so I need to write them so that they make sense to everyone.
So I read that you created the Renegades of Middle Grade, which, if any of you listening don't know, is a group of some of my favorite middle grade authors, and I know that some of yours as well. They're all friends, and like there are authors like Gordon Corman, Lisa Phipps, Jarrett Lerner, and of course, James Ponti. They promote each other's books and help foster love of reading to kids all over. It really looks like you formed a fantastic community, James. And I'm curious to know, how did your idea spark into a group of 32 incredible, I misspelt that word in the script, middle grade writers who host webinars, lead events, and more?
Well, actually, and I think we've grown now to 39, by the way, because
Huh.
I just updated the website. The website was way behind.
Okay.
Um, Basically, what happens is we get together at events every now and then. We get together at a book festival, or maybe
Yeah.
at, and the writers are so much fun. Middle grade writers are so much fun. Hang out with Chris Gravenstein or Stu Gibbs or Jason Reynolds, and these guys, they're amazing. And then dinner is hilarious. And so the idea was that we should find a way online where not only can we continue that fun, but we can let readers and teachers and librarians and booksellers join in. And that was really it. And I started it, but it's not all me. It's, I called a couple friends and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking of this idea and I have this goofy name. What do you think?" And they were all on board. And I said, "Well, who should we get? Who should we ask?" And so we just reached out, and really our goal from the beginning was, the idea was that if you like any of our books, like if you like any of my books, you're going to like virtually any book written by any of these other 30 something writers, and vice versa. So we wanted writers who we thought were really good writers, but more importantly, we wanted writers who we thought were really good people who you want to be associated with. So when we do, and we didn't know what it would even be. And then during COVID, having a group was really neat. And so we would hold these kind of like webinars where we would just have us talk about new books, or sometimes we'll get together with librarians and we'll say, we'll get 16 of us and 20 librarians, and we'll have an hour and a half, and you can ask us anything you want, and we can talk about anything you want, so we can figure out how we can help libraries more. And or we'll do contests and support readers, or whatever. So it's really a fun group. It's a low key thing. The trickiest part is the website, and that falls on me. So I update the website every now and then. I just got some new pictures in from the latest people who kind of joined in the last year or so, and I haven't got it all up, but I'm getting close. I'm getting close to get everything updated. So soon you'll have all 39, if then all 39 aren't up yet. But it is, the writing community is wonderful in middle grade. And what's really great about it is that we're not competitive in the way that I want to sell more books than Stuart, or that Gordon wants to win more awards than Lisa, or any of that. We really believe that we are all in this thing together with the goal of, we just need to help find readers, show them that we care, give them books that they'll love. And if they love any of them, that'll help all of us, right?
Yeah.
So, this year, or I guess now it's been a year since my mind was lost track during COVID. But, we had a member who not a lot of people knew, Donna Barbara Higuera. and Donna won the Newbery Award.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now everyone knows her. And we've always known her. We always thought she was awesome.
I
And
before she got the Newbery.
and it was just like, we've been telling you she's great. And we were all thrilled for her. Our phones were blowing up that day saying, Did you see? Did you see? Because, it comes out early in the morning. And, I just had dinner with her last week when I was in Seattle. And, we love that group, and I couldn't be happier for her. So it's fun to be part of that kind of group of colleagues and friends. Really friends. We are really friends. Some of us talk on Zoom every week. So it's a great group.
Yeah, and what's even what's super amazing about the Renegades, you would think that there are a lot of authors who are kind of all business. They're so popular and stuff. I don't have time for you, but you guys are you're kind and you actually care. You care. I'm not saying they don't care about their readers, but you guys are really take time out of your day to just host events, do Indie 500 bookstore events. It means the world to readers, librarians, bookstore owners. It just means the world to all of us. So on
Well,
behalf,
I hope too many writers haven't been that way to you. Most writers that I know, middle grade,
yeah,
are
there haven't been many.
are pretty kind. Some of them are really busy, and
Yeah,
some of them have layers of protection because they get I wouldn't know how to reach Riordan, but I hear he's an amazing guy.
yeah.
He's an amazing guy, but he's super busy. I get that, but Kwame Avalia, he's one of the great. He's great, and he's funny, and you talk to Kwame for 20 seconds and you're both just laughing hysterically, and that is fun to be around. And I think what we really want to do, maybe most of all, is if you see us being silly together, and not silly, just stupid silly, but silly, joking around, being relaxed, not taking ourselves too seriously, then maybe it helps indicate someone like you, who I know would like to be a writer. It helps show that, wait, maybe it's not that difficult. Maybe it's not that removed from my reality, because I would like to hang out with them. I can see that. I can see it's not like you got to have this certain level of professionalism and this, we're just goofy people,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone can be goofy. So if you're relaxed about it, then you realize writing could be a thing for me. And I think writing could be a thing for most people that want to write. It certainly is an accessible thing to do.
So middle grade authors are truly the best, and you renegades are being renegades. You're leading the charge for change by promoting bookstores, librarians, and showing that you're people. Sometimes I find myself just completely in awe of you. You
Oh,
but
and you shouldn't. You
yeah.
shouldn't be in awe in any of it. You should, because there's nothing awe-worthy that we're doing. We're just, books are awe-worthy, and it's great to be part of that, but you're part of that. I mean, at this age, you talk to authors, you know authors, and you have a presence in social media, and you have a podcast. So you're already part of that community. So there's nothing to be you shouldn't be awed by anything you're part of. Now that I understand, sometimes you get around, I mentioned earlier, Jason Reynolds, and I had met Jason several times, and if I saw him at a restaurant, we'd say hi, and he'd know who I was probably. But I'm still like, wow, that's Jason Reynolds. I still get that way, And I think at first when I met Gordon, I felt that way because I'd heard of Gordon for so long and so many things, but but he's not. He's just the most regular person you could meet, and so I know what you mean, and I appreciate what you're saying, but I hope you don't ever let admiration for being part of the world of books to transfer over to feeling standoffish about people who aren't. We obviously write about the things that we write about our most personal issues. Mm-hmm. So we're sharing already. Some of us are shy, some of us are socially awkward, all of us are a little weird in some ways, but that's just everyone, right?
So my next question is about framed, trapped, and vanished. They all fall into this question. So the main character Florian Bates is a master of toast, and it's not like baking toast or toasting bread. I've
Not
never
bread.
toasted bread before, so I don't know. Well, Florian Bates is a master of toast in the Frame series, and that doesn't mean he's a master of toasting bread. It's actually an acronym that stands for the theory of all small things, which he created himself.
I like how you say that with the ooh, like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is toast an actual tool that some spies use, or were you just hungry when you had to come up with a spy term?
I wish I had a great story for it. Toast, toast the action is something I used to do when I'd wait in the airport. I used to fly a lot for work because when I worked at television, I had to fly a lot. And I'd be bored at the airport and I would just kind of study people and try to figure out things about them. And so I just worked on these, like, how could you do that? And I wanted to write about that, but I thought just saying that is kind of boring. So I need to give it a name. And
Yeah.
I just sat there and somehow it came right to me instantly. Toast, the theory of all small things. And I thought, oh, I'm going to use that. And I honestly think if everything in the books was exactly the same, except there was no toast, the books would be 1/10 as popular. You know, the people connected to the toast part and it let them be something that they could talk about in discussing the books. And everywhere I go, kids ask me if I can use toast. And I can, but not as good as the guys in the books, because in the books, I set it up so that it really is helpful. But it is a skill you can use. And the whole idea of toast is really just, if you look at little details, those add up to big truths. And that's a reality of life that I've always felt.
Yeah. I want to start using toast in my everyday life, and it's not spying. It's totally not creepy at all. But
No, it's not. No,
yeah.
I'm not a fan of creepy spying, but looking and reasoning and thinking, that's all good.
Yeah, well, and when they look back at you, you just look away, like you weren't staring at them trying to
No, not at all.
all things.
Not at all.
Yeah. And was there someone who inspired you to pursue writing, whether it's TV writing or book
Well,
writing, a parent, teacher, author, role model?
my mother really loved writing and really encouraged me to write from a very young age. And so I had great teachers growing up. Specifically, I had a fifth grade teacher named Mr. Prothero, who was wonderful. And by the end of fifth grade, I knew I wanted to be a writer when I grew up, and I really have never changed my mind on that. I had a middle school teacher named Mr. Tyree. I had him for 3 years for English. And each year in class, we made movies, and I wrote the movies, and I really got into that. And I had an amazing high school 11th grade American literature teacher, English teacher named Mrs. White. And I'm so fond of Mrs. White. I love her so much that every book I've written, the teacher is named Mrs. White. So she's in all the books. And so a lot of people encourage me, and that's the great advantage. The most important person in my writing career, though, is my wife, because she's the one who has to put up with my mood. She's the one who has to read every revised paragraph. She's the one who, when I thought this isn't going to work, I need to find a new career, would encourage me, no, it is going to work. I totally have faith in you. So she's really the magician behind all of it.
What are like a few of the shows that you did write for? Because I'm really
Yeah,
curious about that.
the shows that I wrote again were a long time ago. So in kids TV, I wrote Mickey Mouse Club, a Nickelodeon series called The Mystery Files of Shelby Woo, um,
Ooh.
PBS series called Clifford's Puppy Days. I wrote JoJo's Circus on Disney, Stanley on Disney, um, Poco Yo, which I think is on Nickelodeon, but I actually wrote it when it was airing in Europe. Um, and then I worked in sports TV. I worked at the History Channel. I wrote and produced a show called Hands on History. I worked at for 15 years for NBC Sports and Golf Channel, doing everything from talk shows to documentaries to reality series. So a lot of different things. Nothing big or famous or notable, just things that were fun to do.
That does sound fun. And I'm really interested in watching a golf reality TV show. I don't know how that would go.
Yeah, don't get too interested in it. They were okay, but
Golfers.
Yeah, yeah, I know you're joking. All right.
And I know the Pocoyo series. I hadn't watched it before, but I've seen it all over
Yeah,
Nickelodeon, even now. So
it's made a resurgence. It's funny because it was a long time ago, but it still stays around.
yeah. And my next question, it's one that I know that you're not that it's been a little bit troubling for some authors. They get a little bit annoyed with me, so don't be mad. But if you could be or meet any literary character, fictional or real, literally anybody who's related to books, who would it be and why?
Even related to books. Why do authors get mad at you about that?
Well, they say it's a very hard question, and the
Oh,
next one is even harder.
okay. All right. I got some weird. I'm going to adjust my light here. I got weird lighting going on.
Yeah, and now it's overcast here, so.
I look like I'm in prison all of a sudden. All right. That's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anyone in books who I would like, I would love to meet Elaine Konigsberg. She wrote under the E.L. Konigsberg. She wrote for the Mix-Up Files of basically Frank Weiler, which won the Newbery. She wrote oh the she wrote the something Saturday. I just blanked on the name. She's won multiple Newbery Awards. She is an amazing author, and she really inspired the View from Saturday. I think is what it is. Um, I would love to meet her and talk to her and thank her for inspiring me at that most impressionable age.
Well, that's a really great answer, and I need to read from the Mixed Up Files of Basil E. Frank Weiler. I've heard really great things about it. And I think that they say never meet your heroes, but I've met mine, the authors, and just meeting your heroes is a really great experience. So don't let the people who say that deter you.
Right. Because even if you meet them and it's not good, you learn a lesson from that.
Yeah.
I've met people I admire who I really admire even more after meeting them, and some who I admire who afterwards I'm like, But you see reality, and reality is a good thing.
Yeah. And now, the
So is this a
final
hard question?
question. Yeah, this
Okay.
is a hard question. It's one that um people have even never talked to me again after
Okay.
this
I,
question.
I I won't do that. No matter what, I won't do that.
Yeah, so if you were trapped on a deserted island and you could only bring one book, what book would it be and why?
Oh wow. All right, one book. What would it be and why? You know, you I might bring an atlas, like a really good atlas that would show all the places in the world, so I could imagine journeys and adventures going to them, and maybe would even show me where I was, so I could figure out how to
Yeah,
get off a deserted island. But you probably mean a fiction book, so
that
um,
works. Atlases are amazing, so you can choose that.
yeah, I think I'll go with the atlas, or I'd go with one of Jarrett Lerner's books because he's going to be on next. And actually, no, I should go for a really long book so you have something to work through. I yeah, so
War and Peace.
I'll go with Atlas. I'll go with Atlas for now, and we'll leave it at that. But a really good Atlas, I'd have to think about it.
Well, Jared Lerner was actually my last interview. I thought that was your question.
Oh, Jared was the last interview.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I would. One of Jared's books would be pretty good. Jared's amazing.
he is. And so that those are really great answers. And I think that I would
Great.
also bring an atlas. I bring every book that I have, but if it's only one, I think that an atlas would be a good idea because how the heck do I get off of that island? And
Okay.
today has been such a great day. To be able to talk to one of my all-time favorite authors is seriously a highlight I won't forget.
Well,
Reading has
so
been reading has been a comfort and a source of adventure and magic for pretty much my entire life. And thanks to James Ponti, I've been able to go on adventures all across the globe from Beijing all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge, which isn't too far away from me, but it's better to just go in a book than have to drive a couple hours to get there. Because I don't like driving. Of course, I'm not driving. But anyway, so my guest today has been James Ponti, the author of the City Spies series, the Frame series, and the Dead City series. Keep an eye out for the fourth book and eventually the fifth and sixth books of the City Spies series. They're going to be epic. But don't take it from me. Take it from the one and only James Ponti. Thank you so much for sharing your book journey with me and everybody listening, James.
thank you so much. It's so great to talk to you, Train. I'm a big fan, and it was an honor to be on your podcast.
Well, it's an honor to have the opportunity to chat with you, and it just means so much to just talk about everything books. And if you want to keep following James Ponti and just learn more about everything he's doing, he's pretty active on social media. He posts about all the indie bookstores he goes to and all the indie bookstores for the Indie 500 Books event. And who knows, maybe you'll transport yourself to a brand new indie bookstore in the near future thanks to James Ponti. And also check out his website, jamesponti.com. I learned a lot of the information that I shared in the questions and in responses to his answers to my questions. That's a tongue twister. Through his website. It's really interesting. And maybe you'll discover something that, whoa, I didn't know that. And James Ponti is just amazing. You all know that. I know that. Just thank you so much for joining me, and stay safe, keep reading, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.